This is what happens when you carry your projects all over the place with you. Need chair, need slippers. Have big mucklucks as slippers. I will eventually settle in. Yes, I will. Right, hi. It's Jen from Windrose Fiber Studio. It's Weaving Wednesday, and it's actually Wednesday, and I'm just getting around to doing some weaving. And I'm happy to be here. So I am back to working on my purse strap. I will finish this. My big fear with this strap is I'm finally going to finish it. I'm going to take it off the loom, and then I'm going to decide that it's too wide or I don't like it. And then I'm going to undo the whole thing and do something different, which is a very real risk. Glasses. If you're me. So I've only had to do one join so far. Let's see if I can get back into a little rhythm with this. And whoops, I have to take my rings off. Rings and weaving don't go together very well. For the second week in a row, I am last minute Weaving Wednesday. Yesterday, it was because my wireless microphone became unpaired with the receiver. My transmitter and receiver were unpaired, and I had to play around with them and figure out how to repair them. And by the time I did that, I didn't feel like weaving anymore. So that's my excuse. Now I was also just kind of doing some practical things yesterday. I was doing storage maintenance for my laptop, exporting some stuff to external hard drives. I'm very torn about whether or not I want to keep a copy of every video that I make, because, you know, the storage challenge is real, and it's expensive. I'm not so much thinking about things like Weaving Wednesdays where I just kind of hang out, but when I do my crochet tutorials, I put a lot of work into them. And so there's this part of me that just feels like I want to save all that footage. But I'm not really sure if I need to be doing that. Maybe that's just ego that makes me want to save all that footage. But that was on my mind yesterday. Kind of a boring office-y kind of a day. That's not very fun to talk about. That sort of thing really fries my brain. I can work on designing or pattern writing all day long, and my brain is happy. I spend a little time on accounting or tech stuff, and it just fries my brain. I just finished the Modern Market Bag crochet tutorial, and I'm really happy with that pattern, but I feel like my yarn choice for the tutorial was a bit of a fail. I really wanted to try to choose something colorful and fun. And the yarn I chose Karen's Cinnamon Swirl Cakes, and the colors really were pretty. When I was working on it at the Botanical Gardens, people, I think, were stopping and chatting with me, partly because they were drawn in by this really colorful thing I was crocheting. So I know that the colors were really appealing to people. But that yarn, by the time I made up the whole piece, there was just so much weight and kind of, the best word I can use is dense. Just a very dense yarn made for a heavier piece, a bulkier piece. And I just wasn't very happy with that yarn. I feel like I don't have a great relationship with self-striping yarns. The use of color when I'm giving up control. Like, I love color. I love playing with color when I'm making something. But I kind of like working with solids, and I get to choose when I introduce a new color. I kind of have yet to find a self-striping yarn that's given me a really good experience. I'm trying to think if that's a true statement. You know, I think the exception that's coming to mind right off the bat, oh, I've got one on the shelf here. Hold on a second. I couldn't think of the name of it, but Scarfy. I don't know if you've ever used Scarfy, and this is a Lion Brand product, and it's a bulky, so it's a size 5. This one I've made kind of a one skein beanie out of, and that makes up really cute. So far, so I would say that's an exception. Are there any other self-striping yarn exceptions? I love, I kind of like things like this one I'm working with right here. I spun this myself, and there's a lot of different colors in it, but they're sort of all modeled together, and I really enjoy that look. You know, that makes up a little bit more like a tweed. If you twist two different colors of yarn together, you know, if you ply two different colors, I think that can be fun. But I don't know, I'm so drawn to colorful yarns and self-striping yarns, and then I just have a hard time finding the perfect projects for them. So anyway, but I still love that pattern. I really liked it worked up in Lion Brand's Pound of Love. And that is not a yarn that I've used a whole lot. You know, I do use acrylic yarns, and I especially keep them around when I'm designing, because I like to have something inexpensive to work up a prototype in. So if I'm making a sweater, or, you know, if I'm designing a bigger pattern, I might not necessarily want to use a super expensive yarn during the design process. So that's part of my thinking. That's part of the reason why I keep something like a Pound of Love acrylic yarn around. And then also there's a convenience factor. Like, you can go to a Michael's and find it the same day when you're in the mood to crochet. You don't necessarily want to wait a week and a half for an order to come in. That is to say, I was kind of pleasantly surprised by the Pound of Love. It was, here, I've got it sitting right here. Oh. I feel like this product, here, let me pull it out again. Isn't that pretty fabric? And the yarn itself feels really nice. It feels soft, and it's an airier yarn. It's not as dense. It mimics wool fairly well, and I was just very pleasantly surprised. I guess this must be one of the first times I did a project start to finish using it, and you know, it probably won't be the last one because I really like the way this turned out. So every time I finish a big project, you know, start to finish crochet tutorial for the YouTube channel, I always tell myself to take a couple days. It's just a lot of crocheting, and then you're editing footage and doing voiceover. So they're big projects. They take a lot of time. And so I always tell myself just to relax, take a break. But my brain does not get the message, and it immediately starts to think about what I'm going to do next. So, and actually, I think I have chosen the next thing I'm going to make a crochet tutorial for. This is, it's a pocketbook, and that is the best way to describe this purse because it has a classic pocketbook shape. And the reason why it's on my mind is because the other day I was looking for a purse to match my outfit, and I happened to be wearing purples, and I don't wear a ton of purple. So I was going through my purse collection, oops, and I'm just saying oops because I forgot my second shuttle. And I found this purse that I had made a long time ago, and I was like, oh, that's cute, that's perfect. And then I'm looking at it, I'm like, this really is a cute bag. I should share this one. And of course, it's a bag that I just made and didn't make a pattern for. So I'm making my life hard again. I have to kind of write the pattern and reproduce the design. I can't talk and weave. I lost my train of thought again. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, let me try to complete a thought. So it was nice to be looking at this bag at Starbucks this morning because it was sunny, and I actually noticed that I was carrying 2 strands of yarn when I made it. It was also really easy to see the stitches in the bright light. So I started to recreate this pattern. Okay, so let me stop talking about this bag and show it to you. I'm going to set this aside for a second. Okay, sit over here for a second, my friend. Oh, let me show you this bag because I think it is cute. Oh, it's got a so it's got a real classic, it's just got a shorter strap. This is made to be, here, you can see the shorter strap. This is made to be something that you would either carry with your hands in the crook of your arm. I've made the strap just big enough that I can wear it over my shoulder because that tends to be how I like to carry a bag. But I love the shape of it. This one I've had for a while, so it's getting a little fuzzy. The one I'm making now, I'm using an anti-pilling yarn to try to avoid some of the fuzzies. I think this is Lion Brand's Wool Ease, which does tend to fuzz up a little bit. I love the, kind of trapezoidal shape on top. It reminds me of the shape of a classic telephone with a receiver. And but I just think this shape is really fun. And I don't know when I made this. This has got to be over 12 years old. I can kind of tell by the way I designed it. Like how old a project is, because I had hook sizes I used to really go for and yarns I used to really go for, and even ways of designing. It's kind of, your designing evolves with time. So this is definitely reflective of how I was designing at the time. I was also really into popping a flower on everything, but I think the little zinnia flower looks really cute here, and I like just that one accent. You could certainly make this without the accent and without the flower, but I'm kind of loving the flower. I also love the hardware that I used for the clasp on this, but you could definitely use like a little button or a toggle. You could do a magnetic closure, a lot of choices there. And I didn't even line this because it's actually kind of a nice sturdy bag. Of course, if something could slip through, but I don't really carry a lot of things that are going to slip through these little openings. Because I'm carrying 2 strands of yarn, the fabric, I guess stiff is the right word for it, but it's just holds its shape really well. It feels a little more substantial, which I like. I like how defined the shape is. And I also sort of feel like small purses are having a bit of a moment. Anyway, this is a sneak peek at our next crochet project. And this I really want to finish, partly to finish the bag, but I really want to free up this ankle loom because I'm excited to take my first shot at card weaving. And I just think that'll be fun. So I am really into the idea of rewarping this loom and trying to follow a fairly intricate pattern and do some card weaving. So I just think that's going to be fun. Okay, I am going to keep weaving, but I am going to set you free, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for helping me stay on task with my weaving projects. I hope your projects are staying on track as well and that you're enjoying them. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye for today. Here's a look at how much strap I have made so far. So, doing pretty good. So we are well on our way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time.